Yeah. So big to begin with today, there are already three cases that we discussed in effectiveness of legal counseling in the previous session. I'll share the link with you when I'm posting this across so that you can go through what we did in the previous session. And here, I've just taken a few cases which I'm not seeing right now, but which were in the past. And to ensure the confidentiality, we're just using some letters for the clients whom I'm trying to describe, and no other personal information of that individual, including name or the workplace or whatever confidential information about the place from which they are. Say, like, I have my office in Coimbatore as well as in Chennai. I do a lot of online sessions with people from the other states and abroad as well, because many people abroad are comfortable to talk to an Indian counselor rather than meeting the person there for their own reasons. Maybe because of the cultural differences which the Indians could have exclusively, or whatever reasons they generally have. And getting back here, the client of case D. So, client D is a 39-year-old male who's married to a 46-year-old woman. And client D's first marriage. It is client D's, my client's first marriage, and it's his wife's official second marriage. And why we've mentioned here official second marriages. Initially, the client D meets his wife online, and that's how they know each other. They've been in love relationship without seeing each other for quite some time, and later on, he comes to know that she's elder to him, and she has a daughter. I mean, a teenager, and he's not aware of it. And when they meet in person, he also comes to know that she's not looking the way she used to portray herself online. But he felt that he was okay with all that, because he by the time he meets her in person, he's deeply in love with her emotionally. There's a connection, that bonding has been established between them, and thereby he's not able to take away his mind out of it, and he's okay with it too. And they get married without the consent of both the parents. The girl's parents were, I mean, the woman's parents were not okay with it, the guy's parents also were not okay with it, but they take up their own decisions, they go ahead with it. And later on, only like after a few months after this marriage, 6 months later, he comes to know that this is, according from his knowledge, this is the third marriage of the wife. Unofficially, she has married somebody else in between. After the first marriage, there has been a second uh, husband present, and then later on, she she gets into this marriage alliance with the person whom that is my client D. So he's a stepfather of this child. One second. Yeah. And then client D has been suffering from bipolar disorder for a very long time. He was on medicines and other things, and he was on psychiatric treatment for a very long time. Client D's wife had known his condition before marriage, uh, but married him, though after 6 months of marriage. Okay, so she comes to know about it, and then she suddenly, after 6 months, without information, she moves out of the house, and she gets to her parents' house. And she had filed. a divorce petition. Suddenly, a divorce petition comes saying that I'm no more interested in leading this kind of life with you, and let us end this marriage. Because and there's so many reasons. Like I got that like option to read the draft which they was being posted to him officially through their counsel, the wife's private counsel. I mean, their counsel had sent him, and they're the petitioner. He's the respondent who has to talk for himself through his counsel. Client D is unwilling for separation. He wants to save the marriage. And in this scenario, what happens is what kind of guidance we provide to him is of quite important importance here. So this what how we can guide him is first of all when I met him, I referred him for psychiatric treatment because in between he had stopped taking medicines, because that's very important for someone who goes through this kind of an psychiatric uh, health problem, to take the right kind of medicines. Supportive medicines is very important. And he was on psychotherapy, the kind of therapy we provide for the emotional support to build the person when they're going through when they already have a condition, and they're facing something very traumatic. And there was a lot of things which he was like narrating, where he came to know that in the divorce which he had from the first spouse, there was a lot of money involved, like where she said that if not, then it would like she would take it in a different way, and he could be even put into the jail and all that kind of stuff. So here we first do the referral to medication, and then we do the necessary help. So what is we are more interested to know about what the client wants to do rather than what is right or wrong. So here my client was very clear that it's okay, whatever has happened, I still want to live with my wife, was something that he wanted to make sure. So we guide them in that way. So then you still have a legal way in which you can just fight for your wife and the daughter. So we suggested, I mean, myself like suggested him to take up the the legal way to file a conjugal rights petition that I want to live with my wife, and like we can guide him that whatever he's been, if she feels that he made a mistake or something, he would still be willing to work on it, change himself, whatever could be, because we don't know what the exact reason is of her taking the divorce. My client feels that it could be because they were demanding money again from the council. This council was talking to the other council once the case got numbered, and there were two hearings which was happening, and um, they were awaiting the third hearing, and meanwhile, the conjugal rights case keeps going on in one place, and I mean the place of the client D, and in the place where his wife is, she has filed the divorce case. So each have to be moving to each other's place for their case. And so this we give referral to a lawyer who we feel that can authentically lead them, guide them. So a proper advocate is a member of the bar council and who's done or BABL or LLB in full time. And so they are the people who are capable of drafting complaints, filing affidavits. They can, and after taking the consent from the client, they file the wakalatnama where they appear for the client. So all such things are involved in it, and it's a longer time for the case to get numbered. And then at times when there is too much of crowding, sometimes when you appear on that particular hearing date, your case number would not be present there. Why? Because of the long list. Maybe they reschedule to another day due to a lack of enough of magistrates or other um hurdles that that particular court can have, whether it is a sessions court or it's a metropolitan court, whatever, no. So they can have their own challenges in terms of uh, availability of people, and sometimes there's a lot of diversion due to some political turmoil and other things to look on, like the burden of the magistrates present there. There can be a court boycott for because of which the hearing can be postponed. There's so many things that they go through. So why I'm speaking about all this? Anyone who goes to the court can go through different kind of these kind of things. And like what I suggested him was, you when you petition, if filing a petition for conjugal rights, you want to live with your wife, then if she is also like moving through the court, now you cannot speak to each other individually. But if at all you're like, if there's a the court permits for a negotiation, conciliation, or arbitration, that is, we have sometimes if the parties together are not able to sit and take a decision, the court can appoint someone like a conciliator or a neutral third party called the arbitrator, who can take that um, discussion across and come to a common ground consensus where both the parties can work on, in the sense like kind of win-win situation. So I know only the story of what my client has told me, but as a lawyer, he would have collected more information of what he wants. The particular lawyer who like represented him and spoke for him. So that's how it is, and that's what like you just want this person can actually ask for an chance to talk to her, because even that is a basic right. He needs to know why she really wants to depart. But all the other things, I think, is sometimes it's what we generally imagine. No, whatever he's conveying to me may not be exactly what the wife feels, because we don't know what went between the both. So here, but the demand which the wife made for the divorce made people think in the aspect that maybe this person is of this kind of like personality who marries multiple people and then gets a certain amount of money and then is not continuing that relationship. This is one opinion which people had, but we don't know because we haven't met the other person. So that is one thing. And so there's a lot of other than this, there's a lot of work which we need to do as pure psychologists from the psychological angle on the healing, providing that emotional support whenever they fall down, to just encourage and to like be on the track. And to read the drafts and understand the whatever I studied was really helpful to me. Generally, it's difficult. It's a bit difficult to understand what it is unless you know the subject. I think that way the effectiveness of the legal counseling was really helpful for me after that preparation which I did in the study and the course program which I did, and my research paper was also on my past cases where we were able to provide these kind of services where we could provide that kind of support to people. And here there's another case of E, where a 20-year-old female is my client. And here, actually, this is a love marriage where the girl leaves her home and she elopes with this person, this 32-year-old male. So she lives with him for a few years, but only after she gets married, she comes to know that she finds him to be too much into sex and that kind of sex, too much of sexual interest. And he's been watching pornography a lot. And then finally, he feels that, she asks her to imitate the pornographic videos. And the parents were initially not very supportive of the girl. Then, when she approached me, and then, like, when I got an opportunity to talk to the parents as well, no, I was just convincing them. Yes, she did it. Yes, it's all like happened now. But I don't want you to still keep blaming her for whatever happened. But she's your daughter, and when she needs support, let's just forgive what she did and support her in the ways we can. Because she would have gone through, and especially when I was talking to the woman, I was telling her, like, as a woman, like, you understand like what she would have gone through physically, the what pain she would have gone through physically and mentally, emotionally, when such things you force someone to do certain things when you're not comfortable to, what how much suffocating that would have been for her, such things. So client E's parents didn't acknowledge her pain for a few years, though she conveyed the trauma to her mother. Later on, they understood when she came for counseling and all that. And one highlight of those, there were no children born out of this marriage, so it was easy for this girl. Actually, she got a divorce now. So when she came to meet us, so I was just suggesting her to, like, keep herself strong, because she has a strong thing to, like, talk about, and to, like, find justice for herself. And rather than getting into, like, the criminal aspect, initially the lawyers, they tried to, like, talk to get a divorce on a mutual consent, but the spouse was not willing to give divorce. So that is where then they take a decision that, like I also suggested, that there's this one thing is which has been happening is a marital rape between four walls and this unnatural sex act. You watch pornography, all that you watch on pornography is not practically applicable in reality. They can, like, show different things for just selling their videos for money and whatever it is. But that is why there's a requirement for proper sex education for people. And I don't know, like, why some people are into like this, and somewhere it gives people such a hike that they get into that kind of an addiction, which is, like, quite toxic and difficult to come out of. And the guidelines to the parents is to support the person throughout the process. And recently, I heard some news that she is uh, like, going to get married. They were looking for some proposals even when that process was going on, because they felt she's also quite old, and, like, they wanted, like, she's been going through a lot of things for a long time. They wanted her to heal. So I just asked them to not rush into marriage immediately, give her that healing time. But they were looking for some proposals. They said that we're not going to get her immediately married. We'll just double check before, because already once she lost her life, the second time we don't want the same thing to happen to her, and we take some time, let the process go slow and all that. So that way we were able to support. And whichever client needs a referral to an advocate, I think as a psychologist, also an important counselor, it's very important for us to know people, whether it's a psychiatrist, when we feel that they really need medicines, and whether it is a lawyer, or sometimes it could be a special educator whom you can refer the person to for the reading assessments, and whatever kind of help they would need. Sometimes it is occupational therapist when it is functioning of the individual. It is physiotherapy for bone and joint injury and such things. We have physiotherapy, but here occupational therapy helps in functioning. For example, For children with attention deficit disorders or the difficulty in concentration, or when they have signs and symptoms of autism, they don't have this eye hand coordination, or they have difficulty sustaining the attention for a longer time, or even to like catch the spoon, hold it, and then eat, or to sit in the right kind of posture in a classroom. The proximal stability is very important to maintain. So for the alignment of the shoulder, the hip, and then the paper pencil grip, and then to write, it takes a lot of effort for children who have challenges. So I think as a psychologist, very important for us to know whom you need to give referral to. So here in today, because we are talking exclusively about legal counseling and the kind of referrals we need to give to the advocates when it is necessary. I think this is some information which we need to know of who is providing the kind of authentic service to really help the client. And yeah, so the next case here is about client F. Here, it's a 34-year-old female married to a 35-year-old male with infertility, and there's constant emotional manipulation from the partner. Because this man, the husband, does this woman gets into a kind of state where there's a lot of crying spells. Fre- uh, Crying spells throughout the night, and frequent admission to hospitals because you fall ill when you continuously cry. There used to be puking, headache, teeth ache, and she used to get admitted. And then she was fighting depression. She was taking some medicines, and she was also getting some suicidal thoughts, because of which she came and met me. And the husband didn't come constantly, though he came for a session. He was not cooperative for treatment because, according to him, there's nothing wrong with him. Maybe he knows very well that there's something not okay with him. Maybe he felt shy to reveal about it, or it's something like it's going within him that he's projecting on the wife. Maybe he's not able to take in the fact that this no. I think in our society, masculinity is all to do with impregnating a woman. I don't think that is like manliness, but it is actually you stand up for mm, people around you who need your support, and you are like more into empowering someone whom you feel is lesser in strength, maybe physically by birth, the way you're created. I'm not generalizing, but generally, men tend to be more muscular and women, and that's how the creation is. And there are certain things that we challenges that women face when it is, whether it is a periods that we go through, the pain, the suffering, childbearing, and giving birth, and postpartum challenges the woman has. And even after the woman starts sexual life, I think there's a lot of hormonal changes which the woman goes through, where the whole body of the shape of the woman changes after marriage. So I think that is very little impact compared to what a woman could go through in terms of these kind of changes that men experience. I is what I feel. So when nature has created women in a very different way, physically, emotionally, and when you are gifted with certain things, and I think it's your responsibility to protect the woman who you married to, or you need to take care of any woman in the society, be protective of them. So, but this no, when so this nothing to do about your childbirth when the woman is accepting to that. She's that acceptance. If she's insulting you or doing such things, but still, then you can talk about it, but not constantly manipulating or harassing the other person psychologically and causing trauma to them to the extent that they fall ill frequently, and they get depressed because of you. And it's okay for you to take couple therapy. When she is coming, why don't you also accompany her? If it's not, if you don't like a particular psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, whoever is like talking to you, change the person, but don't stop the process. So that is also something which I suggested the woman, because she had not taken a decision on what she really wanted to do. And I was just talking about the kind of options that she could seek in this process. So, wanting counseling to overcome the trauma which she's been going through was very important to be addressed at the moment. And if this is like continuing, and the husband is not very supportive of counseling, it's okay to go for a separation, taking into consideration the toxicity of the partner. So when you're cooperative, when you're able to like, when both of you in the relationship want to work on it, it'll work. Otherwise, there's no point. And instead of like giving a criminal case on him for because emotional abuse and psychological abuse also comes under PWDV Act, which is the Protection of Women Against Sexual, uh, Domestic Violence, which includes physical abuse of any sort, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse. So, taking all this into consideration, like we are not here to seek revenge, but we want to like choose a life which we want to. So, like live peacefully. You live, let people live. Maybe that should be the agenda of all of us, because nobody like is going to get anything great out of taking revenge on the other person. Maybe he's done something wrong, fine. But what you need is just to move on and secure your life, but not to take revenge on the other person, is what I feel. If you need a compensation, you can talk about it when they're providing you that space for mediating with the other party. And maybe like she wanted to consider divorce. And then I also suggested this for some time, just stay away from the spouse, and then to enhance the healing, which is very important for decision making. Right now, when there's emotional clouding, it's not good to take a decision at all. So whether you want to like fight a legal battle with a person, before that you have to like double think over, is that what you want to do, because the person is already, as mentioned, into depression. So when you're on low mood, you cannot like take a clear decision. So you be in a separate space. Maybe in terms of work, the other person can move away, or stay with the parents for some time, or in same house you can maintain boundaries for some time, not to not like too much indulge into each other, but be nice and gentle. If you're able to maintain that, if both are mutually able to maintain that, that is also possible. If not, get some fresh air outside. Let the other person also take his own space to just think about what he did and what he wants to do in life, and what are his priorities, what are his requirements. Maybe he's also fighting a battle which he needs to like overcome. If he likes to go to a male counselor, he can talk about it. Or later on, maybe he changes his mind and he wants to, is willing to go for treatment and all that, then that's fine. It's like both of their choices that they make as a couple. It's their individual life. But this kind of harassing the other person is not right. And yeah, so in many houses, what happens is because they think that it is a family reputation that needs to be protected, and it's very important for my daughter to stay in the in-laws house or the son-in-law. Otherwise, what will people think? So everybody will come to know, and maybe the guy's family also feels that if the woman moves away or stays out, they may feel that they will come to know about the son's weakness or problem. They may try to manipulate and bring her back also, and say that he will go for treatment. But later on, when this girl starts the topic only, we know what will happen, whether he's really going to heartfully come, or just to safeguard that marriage he will say yes, and later on he will change his mind. This he has done plenty of times, and from the history what we have collected from talking to this particular client, now this particular client is she hasn't yet taken that decision to go for a divorce, but they are living separately. That much I know. And there's no more work that I'm continuing with all these clients whomever I've presented now with you, because whatever is going on currently, we generally don't speak about. Some cases in the past which we've seen, and whatever suggestions I give, I do take the ideas from legal advisors to cross check whether this is the right way to guide someone who's suffering with this. So mostly we see to that we are able to do that harm reduction within the four wall setting, and then put things together, and we are interested in patching up people, not separating people, whoever it is, no, to just patch up and live a fulfilled life is generally what we are looking for. But towards the end, when it is like kind of we know that the other person is getting harassed, abused, and and the person is undergoing things which they're not supposed to be going through, whether it is a male or it is female, it is happening to both. Such kind of abuse is happening to men as well as to women also, because we saw a few cases of men also today, as well as in the previous session which we saw on the effectiveness of legal counseling on clients. We saw such cases. So these are some things which I wanted to really share with you, to so that this information will be useful to each of us present here. Why? Because it's very important for us to update ourselves with what the Indian Constitution gives us, and what are the fundamental rights of individuals, and what to tolerate, what not to tolerate, and to empower our clients with that information. That information itself can change, can make a big difference, because some people don't even realize that it's abuse that they're going through, and they're not supposed to be going through that, because the first priority is us. We need to love ourselves before we need to impress the society or somebody else. My safety, my mental health, my physical health is my first priority, and I don't have to be a people pleaser all through my life. I don't have to please anyone, but as long as I'm able to lead a life according to my own consciousness, and like my own conscience, my own authenticity, a life of integrity which I can sustain and go ahead with it, then fine. But still, these are some suggestions which we provide, but the decision makers are always the clients. So, this is some information which I provided to you based on the little information like I have with me. So, if you have something to share about what we've discussed today, you can put it across. Anyone can talk. You can also give me some feedback about what was your takeaway, your understanding, what were some insights. Yes, anyone can go ahead.